It's a love story. It's about two guys meeting in the early noughts, as you guys call it. We call it the noughties in the UK, which I think is cheekier and sexier. But in the aughts, do you guys like aughts or the noughts? One of those. And it really is just chronicling their relationship, them getting to know each other, the the things that any relationship goes through in terms of being tested and finding out how you fit together, and those awkward moments, those moments of growth, and then Kit is diagnosed with cancer, and that obviously has a huge impact on their relationship. At the beginning of the film, I think Kit is kind of that mid-20s, kind of not quite, kind of knowing what you want to do, but not quite there yet. He's got a day job, which is like a bit creative, but working for Cosi, doing their signage. He isn't making a living from his art, which like so many artists don't get an opportunity to do. So I think he's got a little bit of like awkwardness and embarrassment about that. And in terms of like relationships, I think he's like out on the town, he's on the apps. He hasn't had a significant relationship up to that point. He's having probably a lot of fun, casual sex. And yeah, meeting Michael is kind of a real shift for him in his life, I think. But he's kind of just like doing what most people are doing in their 20s, I think, is kind of finding out who they are and all of that. I think they develop this relationship just as we all do, that they find real common ground and real safety in being understood and being seen by someone else. And I think they are a little eccentric and a little, I hate this word, quirky, but they're a little, yeah. And I think they have this real shared sense of humor and naughtiness and cheekiness. And I think they kind of show each other in their own ways how to relax a little more. I think they're both slightly tightly wound on different subjects, but I think they help each other in that way. I think they're both quite neurotic, but about different things, and they kind of like relax each other, I would say, and make a good team. Sebastian is a co-worker of Kit's. At the furniture place that he works at, the showroom. And I think there is a natural chemistry between them, an attraction, and he becomes like a focal point of Michael's kind of paranoia that maybe there is something happening between them. But I think also kind of highlights some of Michael's insecurity around Kit and around them being a good match in that way, and yeah, he he creates an interesting tension for them to navigate. When they first get the cancer diagnosis, they're actually on a break. They've hit this point in their relationship where they're seeing a couples counselor, a couples therapist, and it's not quite working in the way that they want it to. So they're kind of in this moment of considering what they want to be, and they're spending time living apart. And I think what the diagnosis does is bring them back together in a very intense way, because they realize that they love each other, but that they need each other, and that Kit needs Michael through that time. And I think it deepens their love. I think I can only imagine that helping someone through that, supporting them through that, and seeing someone at their most vulnerable would deepen that connection. And they're really tested by it, I think. I just felt so lucky to be working with Jim, and Jim cares for this film and the script and this story so much. And it has such passion for telling the story authentically, and for playing Michael authentically, and also just a real desire to connect to it in a way that we understood it as actors. I've never felt anyone believe in me as much as I felt Jim believed in me. I think Michael Showalter is like the perfect person to direct this, because it fits with his body of work already, but also he if Jim and I were like so emotional all the time on set, Michael is not sentimental, and he has his eyes on the prize on making a good film and it not being indulgent. And I think he was the perfect balance in his kind of energy and his brightness. Not that we were ever, we were always having fun. We weren't there depressed, but he was just such a perfect complement, I think, to what Jim and I were bringing, and also the perfect person to steer the film. And he's such a collaborator as well. I've never worked so collaboratively in terms of him really wanting your input as an actor. Like, so often you will hear someone kind of pretend that they want to know how an actor is feeling about it or how the lines are feeling, and Michael really does want to know. It's genuine. Like, I think a lot of the time people don't really want to hear what actors are thinking. They're a bit like, just say it, just do what's on the page. But this truly was kind of like making sure we all felt connected to it, that we were all saying the right thing. It was a really interesting one for me, forming Kit, my version of Kit. Once we finally knew that I could do it, I was sent via Michael Ausiello a bunch of home video footage and also Kit's memorial video from his funeral. And that's when I kind of really encountered the level of responsibility I felt in portraying him and telling his story. And initially, that was quite overwhelming. I was like, it was very emotional. I felt very emotional to be seeing him and to kind of thinking that in some ways I was stepping into his shoes. And I was a little intimidated, I think, that in wanting to get that right for him, for Michael and for Kit. And through discussions with Showalter and Jim, they were really interested in me finding my own version of Kit. And he was quite an idiosyncratic energy. Really interesting guy and kind of quite kind of particular mannerisms and quite particular voice, and that they felt that they really didn't want me to kind of concentrate on doing an impression of him in any way, but to kind of distill down his essence into me and for it to kind of be very truthful. I think had I gone down the other route, I would have been doing lots of acting in a film that they wanted to keep very truthful. Major themes of the film. The major theme is just love, for me. That's the takeaway. I think this film will inspire people to love better. That's what I wrote to Michael Ausiello after I read the book, and I think luckily that translates to the film as well. I think it is an important LGBTQ plus story. I don't know. I think all LGBTQ plus stories are important for us at the moment. I think, I personally think representation has the power to change the world. Now more than ever, we are consumers of TV and film. That's, we learned that so much during the pandemic. And there is so much being made. And I think that either watching about a story that you don't know about that can make you more compassionate and give you more understanding and give you an insight into someone's life that you wouldn't otherwise have had. And I think also it gives a community of people a chance to learn about themselves as well and see yourself reflected back. And I think that's really important. I think we're all on a quest in life to feel like we belong somewhere and to be understood and to be seen. And I think that representation in film and TV has the power to do that.